Hi, this is Sean from Media Assault here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the 1962 kaiju Aiga classic King Kong vs. Godzilla. Now specifically I'm going to be taking a look at the 2005 DVD release of the film, which was put out by Universal in a 2-pack with King Kong Escapes in an effort to capitalize on the King Kong popularity boom at the time due to the Peter Jackson King Kong that came out in theaters at the end of 2005. The name King Kong vs. Godzilla probably inspires in most people the thought of what they think this film should be, which is two iconic movie monsters fighting it out, causing massive amounts of destruction and excitement and wonderment for kids of all ages. Unfortunately, this film is let down by the fact that it features a King Kong that looks like he's dressed in a dime store ape suit, special effects that really are kind of shoddy even by Japanese monster movie standards, and a plot that exists solely to get these two monsters together. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I will try to explain this plot to you in as succinct a fashion as I can without leaving out, well, there are no big details really. What happens is, at the beginning of the film, we see this United Nations news broadcast, and back in the 1960s, early 1960s, the fact that satellites could transmit information was still kind of a new idea. So this communication satellite, which strangely looks like a space station of some kind, is used as a plot device to beam these story broadcasts from all over the world to deliver updates on the plot. These scenes with these United Nations news broadcasts were filmed specifically for the American version of the film, and they were inserted at the expense of some of the character building scenes that were done in the Japanese version. The Japanese version of this film was basically a lighthearted comedic look at TV advertising, the whole mindset of marketing, that kind of thing. The American version still has scenes that have that comedic tone from the original Japanese version, but these new inserted United Nations broadcast footage, those scenes are played really straight, really serious, try to make this more like a horror film. So you've got two tones working against each other, and it kind of makes kind of a schizophrenic type film. It doesn't know if it wants to be funny or if it wants to be, or try to be, scary. It succeeds really at being neither. But the plot, such as it is, the beginning of the film, we see this United Nations submarine called the Seahawk traveling to the Bering Sea to investigate the warming of the current there. And it turns out the warming currents are caused by Godzilla, who emerges from an iceberg. And if you remember, at the end of Godzilla Raids Again, he was sealed in basically snow and ice. Well, the warming of these currents he's basically generated his own heat source because he's radioactive, and he's melting his way out of the ice and causing these icebergs to flow down towards Japan. He breaks out of the iceberg that he's in, and he goes off straight to Japan to attack. Meanwhile, in Japan, this guy called Mr. Taco, who runs a pharmaceutical company, he hears of these berries that were discovered on an island in the South Pacific called Faroe Island. These berries, they're real big, they almost look like tomatoes. They supposedly have this non-habit-forming narcotic effect on anyone who eats them. And they're supposedly very popular with the animals on Faroe Island. One of the animals that is addicted to this soma juice, that's the name of the berry, is this god-like creature, according to the villagers, who actually turns out to be King Kong. So Mr. Taco, the pharmaceutical guy, sends these two employees of his to Faroe Island to investigate not only the berries, but the reports of this god creature. When Godzilla attacks Japan and takes attention away from the program that Mr. Taco and his company are sponsoring, he becomes even more adamant about capturing this god creature and showing that it exists, at least, to boost the ratings of his program. So these two guys go down to Faroe Island, and they do encounter King Kong as he attacks a giant octopus who is trying to steal this berry juice from the villagers there. Kong defeats the octopus and then drinks a large quantity of this berry juice and passes out in front of the village. Well, Mr. Taco and his buddies decide they're going to capture King Kong, and they get this grand idea to tow him back to Japan on this makeshift raft that is towed behind Mr. Taco's ship. So, you basically have both of the monsters now heading towards Japan. And, of course, they use it as a giant arena, and they eventually do fight at the base of Mount Fuji. I'll let you see the film to fill in the blanks on how that actually happens. The problem with this version of King Kong that we see on film is that he's not the stop-motion animated majestic creature that appeared in the original 1933 movie. He looks terrible. If you recall my review of King Kong Escapes, which is a film that came after King Kong vs. Godzilla, he looks probably better in that film than he does in King Kong vs. Godzilla. He still looks terrible in King Kong vs. Godzilla, however. Godzilla, though, looks great. Many Godzilla fans think this is the best looking suit of any of the Godzilla films of the Showa era, anyway. One of the things that's really good about King Kong vs. Godzilla is the actual battle between the two monsters. In many giant monster movies from Japan, when two monsters are supposed to fight, the fights are shot in a way that is meant to hide the fact that these suits that these actors are in aren't very maneuverable, so they can't really do a whole lot to each other. In King Kong vs. Godzilla, that is not the case. You've got the two actors flipping each other over. These aren't empty suits being flipped over. These are the actual actors in the suits fighting it out. They're rolling around, they're fighting. There are also some scenes using stop-motion animation a little bit and some puppets to give you different angles, more interesting scene composition of the fight. It's very entertaining. That is the highlight of the film, and that's how it should be. It's King Kong vs. Godzilla. That's the part that's good. The rest, unfortunately, which is 3/4 of the other part of the film, is really not that great. Another thing hurting the American version is the fact that the Japanese musical score was removed and replaced with music from other horror movies, including Creature from the Black Lagoon. So every time one of these monsters appears on screen looking like guys in rubber suits, you hear this stab of dramatic monster movie music that's saying, hey, this is scary, and it's really not. So it just doesn't work in that context. So King Kong versus Godzilla, I'd give it a 5.5 out of 10. 6, really stretching it. It is a fun movie, and that's the point of kaiju movies. They're not meant to be serious cinema. This one especially. And that's something that the American producers apparently forgot when they shot all the somber, serious, pseudo-scary scenes for the American release of the film. The Japanese version, at least they knew that it was supposed to be lighthearted and comedic, and unfortunately the blending of the two for the American version just really doesn't work. But the last battle, the climactic scene between King Kong and Godzilla, it might be worth watching just for that. Really depends on your tolerance for guys in rubber suits throwing each other around. That's it for the review of King Kong vs. Godzilla. Check out my review of King Kong Escapes that is also available online, and you can actually pick those two films up in a 2-pack for about $15 from a number of different stores, Amazon.com, Best Buy, I've seen it there. And in that case, it's a really good deal. Stick around on Media Assault channel on YouTube for more video, movie, and video game reviews. And See you soon. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks a lot.